this morning's breakfast, Francis Owusu. And Francis and his wife Jennifer and family reside in the city of Accra, Ghana. And Francis is the product of the London School of Economics, UK, and a member of the Chartered Institute of Management Accountants, CMIA in the UK. And in the past, he established a frozen food import and distribution business in partnership with his brother. And he is the Executive Director of Fiesta Hotels and Residences, a family-owned hospitality group based in Ghana with affiliates in South Africa. Francis Owusu is the current International President of the Full Gospel Businessmen's Fellowship International. This is the world's largest Christian business organisation and was founded by the late Demos Shakarian in California in 1952. And today it operates in over 85 nations around the world. So let's give a very big, loud, warm Adelaide welcome to Mr. Francis Owusu.
Thank you very much. The representative of the minister, senators, honorable members, mayors, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, students of the three schools here represented. It is a great pleasure for me to be here in Australia, your beautiful country, for the very first time. And I'm greatly humbled to be speaking at such an important meeting as a prayer breakfast this morning. I was born 62 years ago in the country of Ghana to a businessman in the timber industry, my father, and my mom a school teacher. My parents were Christians, or still Christians. I've lost my father though years ago. And whilst growing up as children, going to church was a must for all of us on Sundays. But I had my primary and some of my secondary education in Ghana, and eventually went to the United Kingdom to continue my education, where I enrolled at the London School of Economics to study for a degree in actuarial science. When I was in England, without the parental control, I stopped going to church. There was so much fun, so I thought activities going on. I remember in those days, people used to organize boat discos. We would go in the night and come back in the morning. And I thought, yes, this is it, I've landed. This is a great country to be in. Forget about Ghana. London is all fun, the lights. Saturday night we would go out, come in early hours in the morning. So Sunday was for sleeping, not for church. With all the hangovers and all that. But God loves us. God always has plans for each and every one of us. After my first degree, I was struck by an ailment, which started with dizziness, headaches, severe chest pains around the heart area. Naturally, I went to the hospital in London, saw specialists. For months, they couldn't identify the problem with me. I was a specimen patient at the Royal Free Hospital in England. Medical students were studying me, but they couldn't find what was wrong with me. And it was horrible because the dizziness and the headaches were quite severe. And sometimes it was as if there was bleeding in my head. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I found a quick solution. Even though I was not an alcoholic, but somebody who loved to drink, I realized that whenever I got heavily drunk, the pain would subside. So my consumption of alcohol increased dramatically, especially with the hard stuff. Black labels and you name it. Such was my lot. From the outside world, they thought I was having fun, but deep down I knew that I was having a big problem which probably could end up in death for me. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, that was my life. And sometimes, heavily intoxicated, I would go to parties driving. One night I was arrested by the British police, breathalyzed, put in the van because I was way over the limit, taken to the police station, processed for court, and banned from driving for 1 year in London. That was a miserable period for me. But I think God was saving me for a time such as this, because many other young people who drink, drive, and die and lose their lives. And now I look back and I know how much God loves me and has kept me alive for a day such as this. Ladies and gentlemen, I went on to qualify as an accountant, worked for a while in the UK, and returned to my home country, Ghana, to be in the family business. We diversified into the frozen food business. My father's business was mostly timber in the central part of Ghana, but I stayed in the capital, Accra, where I was involved in the frozen food business with my brother, who were importing lamb from Australia, New Zealand, Europe, chicken, poultry, name it. The business grew. We eventually acquired cold storage facilities in Accra, and I continued to drink because my problems persisted. Since I couldn't find any cure in the UK, Ghanaian doctors also gave their best, but nothing could be done for me. I continued to drink heavily. One day, I met my wife. University, she was studying law at that time, Jennifer. Eventually, when she finished law school, we got married. She knew my problems. She knew my drinking. But she kept faith with me. Thank God for women, especially prayerful women. It's so important. Sometimes when your man is going forward, a woman who prays can straighten the man. And that is what happened through her prayers. Through her prayers, one day we had an invitation from the full gospel businessmen in Ghana, inviting my wife and I to a breakfast meeting. I had never heard of full gospel. At this time, I was just thinking about myself. Many friends thought I was making money and having fun, but deep down, sometimes I wished I was dead because this affliction was quite severe. So at this breakfast meeting, we heard stories from men and women who had been impacted by the encounter with Jesus Christ, and this had transformed their lives. I was so shocked and surprised because there were men who used to be drunkards, men who used to be drug addicts, but Jesus had completely transformed them. So I said to myself, this is the place to be. It's only a matter of time, that I would also have an encounter with this Jesus who would bring me restoration and healing. So I joined the fellowship and I started attending their breakfast meetings. I love the breakfast meetings because I could hear stories, so many stories which I could relate to. Ladies and gentlemen, it took 2 whole years and I hadn't been healed. One night, all alone in my bedroom, my wife had traveled to London. I knelt down beside my bed to pray and I asked the Lord, I said, Lord, you brought me into this fellowship. You have healed countless people of their ailments. You have healed people with severe ailments which were worse than mine. Why haven't you healed me, Lord? The Lord spoke clearly to my heart. He said, Francis, your corrupt business practices are preventing your healing. When the Lord said this, my whole life, business life began to play. In the import business, I was falsifying invoices to pay less duties, falsifying invoices to pay less VAT, and making lots of money. Joining the fellowship, I used to give the fellowship money, so I thought having joined the fellowship, giving God money, it would be clean money. told me clearly, I'm not pleased with your life. I repented and asked for forgiveness. I said, Lord, I'm sorry, no more. Please forgive me for my past. Ladies and gentlemen, I felt different at that time. I became so light. I've never felt like that before. Sin is indeed a burden. Sin is heavy. But the journey had just started. Barely 48 hours later, after this episode, whilst asleep in the early hours of the morning, somebody touched my shoulder. I felt a tap. Since I was alone, I knew that Jesus had come into the room again. Ladies and gentlemen, I knelt down by my bedside and I began to cry unto the Lord. I said, Lord, you are the only one who can heal me. Please, I have suffered for 19 years with this affliction. Please help me out. Heal me, Lord. As I was crying unto the Lord, I don't know what happened, but I fell asleep on the floor of my bedroom. For how long, I don't know. But in my sleep, I suddenly felt a wind behind my back. And as it came, it's like as if my flesh had been opened. I was thrust onto my feet, and I began to speak in other tongues. Those of you who do not know what that is, that was the first time I was speaking in tongues. And I was saying that my eyes have seen the glory of the Lord. My eyes have seen the glory of the Lord. I have never been in a spacesuit. But that morning it felt like I was in a spacesuit, because I then knew that man was a spirit, because I could feel the separation as I paced up and down my room and just speaking in tongues and saying my eyes have seen the glory of the Lord. I was completely healed and delivered. I said the glory of God. My Jesus is alive. He lives. He lives. This is an experience nobody can take away from me. I then began my walk in spirit and in truth. I told my brother, no more are we going to falsify invoices. We're going to do our business straight. And ladies and gentlemen, whilst we were doing our business straight, our products became uncompetitive. We couldn't sell our products because there were many people who probably were behaving like I was behaving in the past. So we started mounting serious debts. Our bankers were worried. Our debts were piling, and we didn't know what to do. Our stocks were in full store because our prices were so high after paying all the duties. I prayed to the Lord. I said, Lord, please make a way for us. You are the one who says that you make a way where there seems to be no way. But ladies and gentlemen, this is the Jesus that we serve. After a couple of years, he sent a Dutch company from Holland who gave us a proposal to buy our cold storage facilities at a fantastic price, and we sold and eventually invested the monies in the hospitality industry. I say this to the glory of God. God will always make a way for you where there seems to be no way. Because at that time I couldn't tell my bankers that I had seen the light, therefore they wanted their money. But God saved us from this situation. And I say this to the glory of God. We've gone on to add-on service apartments and all that. God has blessed us tremendously. We run our business cleanly, paying full VAT, paying everything fully, and God gives us increase, continues to bless us, which we help in financing the ministry of the fellowship in my country, Ghana. But the walk with the Lord has its own challenges and victories. And this is what happened in the year 2018. After being in the fellowship for about 18 years, I was appointed the international treasurer by our international president at that time, a Mexican by the name Mario Garcia. 2 months after my appointment, he asked me to accompany him to the Philippines. The Asian Pacific Convention was happening in Manila, and this was in the month of April. I accompanied him. I went to Manila. And on my return to Ghana on a Monday morning, I flew by Emirates, got to my house, and my home was full of the police. I said, what's going on? Where is my wife? Where is Jennifer? What is my son? They said, calm down. They are alive. Calm down. So I said, why? What's going on? Why are all these policemen here? He said, thieves broke into your home. Ladies and gentlemen, this was the first time thieves had broken into my home. And they were not just thieves, they were fully armed, about 8 of them. They held my wife Jennifer and my son hostage for hours. And they had tied up my dad. And Jennifer was to tell me later that, thank God, not even a hair of her head was touched. And even to add a sense of humor to it, she said, while she lay on the floor, one of the armed robbers tapped her leg, and she startled, and the man said, I was killing a mosquito. I asked the Lord, I said, Lord, why? I went to the Philippines to do your work. Why couldn't you protect my family? Ladies and gentlemen, the Lord spoke to me clearly. He said, I saved your life. They would have killed you. I saved your life. So I said, Lord, I'll send you all the things. Please, I'm sorry for even complaining. Send me. Wherever you want to send me, send me. I'll go, I'll send you, please. Please. That's why the Bible says, many are the afflictions of the righteous, but the Lord delivers him from them all. And I continue to serve the Lord. Last year, in the month of June, our international president and Mario Garcia, together with Gully, we visited 3 countries in East Central Africa. We visited Rwanda, we visited Uganda, and the DRC Congo. In Kinshasa, when we got in there, the Lord started speaking to me. He said, I'm about to do a new thing in this fellowship. He said, I'm about to do a new thing in the body of Christ. At that time, I didn't understand what the Lord was speaking to me about. But there are certain things to share which I've shared with the fellowship. But just for the want of time, I'll just fast track. Our international president went to be with the Lord in December that year. So the international presidency became vacant. Then I hadn't reached there because there were people who were much more senior to me, who had been in the fellowship 40 odd years and all that. Many senior people who had worked even with the founder. But suddenly, people I didn't know or knew casually started calling me. They said, through prayer, the Lord was showing my face to them. I said, what are you talking about? He said, you are the next international president. I said, who, me? You don't mean it. Well, come February 2023, we flew to Malaysia. The election was held, and for the first time, I was elected the first African to be the international president of this fellowship in the 71 year history. So it brought me to remembrance what the Lord had told me in Kinshasa, that I'm about to do something new. Indeed, it's something new. And I'm so glad I'm in this land of Australia, because God is doing something new in this land. Even though I stepped here, the anointing I felt in the last 48 hours confirms to me that indeed the Lord is about to do something new. Yesterday I slept just for a couple of hours because the Lord was speaking to me concerning what He's about to do in the kingdom and the worship. And I said to myself, wow, to come to Australia and to hear so clearly from the Lord shows that this country is blessed. Australians, you are blessed. My dear students, God knows the plans He has for you. They are plans for good and not for evil. Plans to give you hope and a future. I have been there, and I know that out in the world, sometimes you see people, you think they are having fun, but deep down they are not happy. They have no peace, because Jesus says, the peace I give, the world cannot give. Money cannot buy that peace. Money could not buy me healing. Money could not take away the affliction. It's only Jesus who took that affliction away. So we're in the right place. God's plans are the best plans you ever have. Ladies and gentlemen, under my presidency, the Lord has given me the opportunity, even in these last few months, to meet 2 presidents of nations. I was in Nicaragua in April, and I had audience with the president of Nicaragua, Daniel Ortega, because the fellowship has transformed the nation of Nicaragua. In Ghana, we had our World Convention in July. I met our head of state. I prayed with him, and the whole convention center he gave to us free. He said you can have it. And not only that, he added money on top, 10,000 offering from the government. Ladies and gentlemen, this is what this fellowship is doing. This fellowship is out affecting nations, from the kings, the presidents, down to the little hamlet. We do not discriminate, because God has given us chapters which represent the different strata of society. You can have the bankers, you can have the lawyers, judges, and you can also have the mechanics, the carpenters. This is the beauty of the vision God gave to our founder, Demo Shakarian, because he said, when a plumber is telling a plumber his story, a carpenter telling a carpenter his story, a doctor telling a doctor, a politician telling, that's when they believe. Because people will believe when we, as in the same profession, tell them what we have been through. So whenever I speak all over the world, people know, as accountants, they know, they speak my language and they understand. This is the beauty of this fellowship. And our fellowship is all over the world. We have platforms all over the world giving us the opportunity to share. But the beauty is that God has empowered us in this ministry with giftings. And one of my giftings is seeing in dreams. And I remember one time I was in the US, Pennsylvania, and I had a dream. And I saw one of my partners who I used to drink a lot with. And the Lord was telling me to reach out to him. I reached out to him, and he happened to be at the hospital. Apparently, he almost died from pulmonary embolism. But speaking to him, I told him that the Lord had revealed his face to me and that he wouldn't die. I say this to the glory of God. He's alive, still alive, totally healed. And not only that, the other time my wife was having just a small birthday lunch. Her friend, who is a medical doctor, who hadn't been married for years, her time was going on. Suddenly, the Lord put a word in my mouth that you will be married soon, your partner is coming. Someone in America started having dreams of this woman because they had been in medical school together, but they hadn't met for years. He phoned her, he says, look, what are you doing? And he said, I'm still single. He said, I'm single as well. They are married now in the USA. This is what the God that we serve. And he helps us in our business, because I remember at the time of COVID, I had a dream and the Lord showed me oxy oil. I didn't know what it was about. Within 48 hours, somebody phoned me. When the Lord showed me oxy oil, my bank account had been empty. So when this gentleman called, he said, I have a big deal from an oil company. I said, what's the name? He said, Oxy Oil. I said, thank you, bye-bye. And just when COVID struck, we had an audit by the tax authorities in Ghana, auditing our hotels. And when the lockdown happened in Ghana, we had a lockdown for just about a month and a half. We reopened, but the hotels, one of the hotels was completely shut. We were hit with a tax bill of $1.5 million US. I said, the enemy is a liar. You cannot destroy my testimony. I've been paying my taxes faithfully. I told my accountants, we've done nothing wrong. We're going to fight this. Ladies and gentlemen, after 2 months, the figure came from $1.5 million to $70,000. My accountant said, we have to fight and even bring it to zero. But then I said, I was getting cold feet. I said, look, don't you worry. Sometimes there are errors of omission, commission. Let's ask for terms of payment. But this is the God that we serve. Ladies and gentlemen, I have found rest in this Jesus. It says in the book of Matthew, come unto me, all you who labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. That Jesus will give you rest today. I thank you for this opportunity, and I love you all. God bless you. Thank you very much. Amen.